Welcome. You have reached Imperial Reviews, and today's recap is the series on Peacock Teacup, episodes 3 and 4. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Let's get into it. So, like I stated in the last recap for episodes 1 and 2, they're launching these episodes 2 at a time until they get to episode 8, which will be aired on Halloween. So the episodes air every Thursday. So start on the 10th, past on Thursday 17th, and on the 24th, and then on the 31st for Halloween. So they kind of planned it out perfect. So this episode um picks up from last episode. At the end of last episode, we know that Nomad came out, and I said Nomad McNabb came out, and he pretty much spray painted around the air perimeter trying to save the people. Then from there you had Donald watched his wife pretty much burst out. Claire, she bursted out, whatever energy dimension that was, that basically draws whatever's inside of them and burst out. So it picks up in the morning. Donald is still in shock that happened to his wife. So in the house, everybody's waking up. And then you have Maggie. And of course, she's waking up next to James. And they got this weird, awkward energy between them because, of course, Maggie knows that James has been sleeping with. He knows that pretty much he's been sleeping with the neighbor, and because of course she spoke to what exactly took place when Meryl was little, and nobody should have known that, but he felt comfortable enough to tell her that. So Valeria, she knew Valeria. He had slept with Valeria. So they were having conversation in the kitchen, and pretty much she said she knew, and he didn't deny it. But Ruben was up at the time, and he heard them talking about it, and pretty much he was sleeping with Valeria, and now Ruben knows. But don't nobody know Ruben knows. But throughout the episode, Ruben was pretty much, you could tell he knew something, but he didn't really, you could know it. It's like one of those situations, pretty much you see that Valeria and Ruben's marriage pretty much been on the rocks for some time. And so his reaction wasn't like he was surprised. I think he probably more been surprised on who it was with. And he's sitting in his face acting like they ain't doing nothing. So we'll see if something come about with that. So the goal is now for Ruben and James to go to the Navarro's house and see if that's like another neighbor nearby, to see if they were affected, if anybody is still alive. And of course, they have a perimeter that this is all covered, so they know who's inside of this perimeter. So Maggie pretty much says she has to go up to the clinic. Well, she grabs Donald and pretty much takes him up to the clinic and try to nurse him for wit and tell him get some rest. So as she before she leaves out, she talks to her daughter and pretty much tells her daughter, like, basically, I need you to be grown for a minute, and I need you to look after your brother. So she's telling this to Meryl, and Meryl and her had a mother and daughter moment, where Meryl asked to be cuddled, and so she pretty much told, I need you to look after Arlo. And she spoke about Valeria and Ruben's son, basically saying that she knows he likes her, and she pretty much kind of like him too. So Maggie pretty much gave her a blessing or whatever. So, but basically, you need to look after your brother. So after everybody left, Arlo, but Arlo is the vessel. Harbinger is the entity that's inside of Arlo. It's pretty much saying, "Hey, um, you need to help these people, and you need to go in the forest and get this poison. Everybody got to drink it to help them." So Harbinger and Arlo was talking to Meryl, pretty much saying, "Hey, I know I'm your brother, but I know some things, and you need to listen to me." So Meryl did listen to him and convinced Nicholas we're gonna follow Arlo out in the woods and to gain whatever it is that he could pick up. So you had their sequence going, they're going somewhere to pick up this poison inside of a jar. That's their mission. Then you have Ruben and James. Their mission is to go to the Navarro farm and see who's alive when they seeing people's dead everywhere all through the house. Ruben ends up, and you see these dogs are looking into this like barn type area, and inside of there is this mystical tree thing with all these colors, and Ruben is drawn to it and he's just stuck there. Meanwhile, you have James in the house, going through the house with a gun and seeing a bunch of dead people, and then he finally gets to the basement and something snatches him. So that's the end of episode 1. But also what has happened during this time is back at the house, while Valeria and the mom is out front talking about everything that went on, um, Ellen, Valeria, Ellen sitting outside talking. A car pulls up. And when a car pulls up, they try to warn them like, "Hey, hey, hey, don't come here. Don't go past the line." And he was pretty much like, "Hey, yeah, coming across the line is not the problem. It's going across it." So he had this information. But Arlo did mention that there was an assassin coming to kill everybody, and they need to prepare for, or hide or whatever. So right now you don't. You got to think McNabb sent the message, "Don't trust nobody." So they're talking to this guy. He pretty much said he was this cop and whatever. So Maggie is coming back from the woods and she heard them talking to him. So she's instantly suspicious. And he was like, "Well, I want to see your son." And she don't want to give up her son. So you thinking, well, maybe Maggie just tripping, but they remembered the sign and said, "Don't trust nobody." So Maggie pretty much told him, like, "My son is up here in the barn." And, she lured the cop inside the barn. But when she got there, he said, "Your son's not there." She said, "Of course not. And you're not who you say you is. You know more information." So Maggie clocked him. He knocked out. She tied him up to the pole. So that's pretty much of episode 3. And then episode 4, it comes in and picks right up. Maggie's talking to him, and he's pretty much saying that McNabb, he means well, but he doesn't know everything. So you don't know right now. You got what's what, who to trust, and what's going on. So Maggie, pretty much, she want to head to the clinic to deal, you know, to see if Don's okay. She contacts Valeria, and of course, her and Valeria, she confronts Valeria and tells her she knows, and pretty much said that you just think you're a good person. And Valeria said, "Well, James was right. You really are cold-hearted." And so Maggie just left her there, basically to show him with the gun, keep the gun on him for him not to move. So she's there. She's all upset, out of her mind. Maggie makes it up to the clinic, speaks with Don. Now she's hyperventilating. Don calms her down, and basically he's awake or whatever. So um, from there, they had Valeria got to the point where she wanted to go make a move, look for people. So in the process of her looking for people, she goes and gets Ellen, leaves Ellen up there to watch him, and pretty much gave her a handgun. Now you know Ellen got, I think she got MSL or one of those, and her hand was just shaking, so he could see that she's weak. She's gonna be the weak link. She shouldn't have been there watching him. So he complained basically that he got blood in his eye, and basically he couldn't do nothing, but the blood was burning. And she's like, "You better not do nothing." As soon as she got close to him, he pretty much did what uh, that woman did to Arlo and spread an entity into her. However, you find out he's the entity. He was the entity to be the assassin. So now back in the woods, you have Arlo and Meryl and Nicholas out in the woods. They hear a car. They go to where the car is. It's McNabb. McNabb sees them, tell them don't cross the line, but he sees they got something in a jar. And when he sees something in the jar, he was like, roll the jar over to me. And they was like, no. So he instantly crossed the line. But when he crossed the line, Nicholas had a knife. They struggled. The jar got tossed and broken. And then Nicholas stabbed McNabb. And McNabb was wounded. And they said, what we do now? And then Merle was like, we help him. So they took the mask off. And instantly McNabb seen the being that's inside of Arlo, the Harbinger. Pretty much they recognize each other. And he's like, I was trying to help you when you was inside of the woman, but you ran off. And then he pretty much was like, yeah. And that's because the assassin, that's how Mackie recognized that the cop wasn't right, because the assassin had um, the woman wire tied. And so Maggie knew something wasn't right. Because he said, yeah, I just was with her, but she ran off or whatever. So remember in the episode 1, it shows the woman with wire ties on her arms. So with McNabb injured, he sees and recognizes Harbinger, and he said, I found you again. And he said, yes, you did. And that was pretty much the end of the episode for them. Then it went back to what happened to James in Navarro's house, who snatched him down the basement. Some kid was lighting up a cigarette, and they had him wire tied, and James pretty much said, I want to know if you looking to finish the job, like what's going on. The guy was like, he's like erratic and pretty much don't out of his mind, don't know what to believe, and pretty much said to him, hey, give me one reason that give me one reason why I should keep you alive. And that was the end for that. And then you had back at the barn or the main house, the assassin took over Ellen's body. Ellen went and killed the cop guy, and then banged her head on a post to make it look like if there was a struggle. He got loose, and now everybody won't know that Ellen is actually the assassin now, but they're going to notice because instantly her hand stopped shaking and she was normal. So of course, that's going to eventually people going to notice that her health improved and she not got the ailments. She not going to probably want to smoke weed and stuff like that. So it's interesting enough. That was episode 4. We'll be following it through on this channel to the end of the up until episode 8. Enough to bring it closer to find out what the entity is and its energies. Make it more interesting to find out what's going on. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Till next time.